Peace and blessings, family. It's your man, Julian Bannister from Bannister Athletics. Thank you for being here today. If you're getting this video, that means you decided to start your Recode process. And so what we're going to do here is talk about a little bit what the Recode is, why we're doing it, keys to that, and some of those movements. So the Recode is basically a realignment of the joints to essentially allow for our musculoskeletal system to move how it's supposed to. Right now, we're currently moving in reverse, and so we need to take our body from a reverse motion and we need to start moving back forward, simply put. And so why are we doing that? Because right now, moving in reverse is causing a lot of injuries from our head all the way to our toes, from ankle sprains to increase in knee sprains, ACL tears amongst kids and young athletes to, unprecedented $8 billion with knee surgeries being spent in 2026, similar numbers with hip surgeries and hip replacements. We have young people, even such as myself, suffering from lower back pain, as early as 26 or younger than that. And, shoulder pain, neck pain. We got gamers with carpal tunnel and, building already hunchbacks and things like that. It's really not hard to look around and see the epidemic happening within the human body itself. And so what my job is to try to reverse that. And, it's possible even for myself. Again, a lot of y'all know I dislocated my SI joint. I might even have torn my glute. But, at the time I was, the best shape of my life. I was very flexible. I was extremely fit. I could almost do the splits, X, Y, and Z, you name it. But I was having chronic, back pain. I was having, I was always injuring my erector. I was having neck pain a lot. I would literally sometimes, be crazily in these homemade neck braces. And then I ended up getting one from CVS. It's like even getting to that point is, somewhat ridiculous as a young personal trainer. It's like, there's something wrong here. And so my receptiveness to change allowed me to find this different type of movement pattern that has now alleviated my lower back pain in about 6 months, whereas I was, suffering for more like 3 years of getting, all types of different treatments. I was told I had to get surgery, X, Y, and Z. All that being said is I'm a walking testimony that this stuff works if you stay diligent, and really 6 months of hard work can actually change your life. I really avoided getting shoulder surgery and hip surgery by doing some of these movements, and that is what it is. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, what are the keys to this process? One, we talk about it a lot, staying in our columns. So columns are essentially stacking our joints in the proper alignment. And this is going to help build strength in those positions, because right now, again, we've been moving in reverse, stretching out our connective tissue in ways that we weren't supposed to. We've been training like all the big muscle groups, but there's a lot of little ones that need a little work too. And then, so number one, stay in our columns with straight feet, right? That's the biggest key. So staying with our shoulders stacked on top of our hips, on top of our knees, on top of our ankles, but we want to have our feet straight. We don't want to have our feet out. When we have our feet out, that makes us get puts our hips in front of our ribs, and that's not good. That's not good because we want to be back chain dominant. Back chain dominance is essentially keeping the ribs in front of the waist. What that does is set us up to propel ourselves forward by activating our glutes as opposed to activating our lower back and using our abs to stay forward. We call this front chain dominant versus, you can even see my abs starting to literally flex right here. I'm having to keep myself up, whereas right here, I can open my hips, I can get into my glutes. I'm actually very supple here. I can do all sorts of movements. I could get up, I can do a lot of different things, and I'm very comfortable here. And so this is basically a way to secure our spine and, again, propel us forward. That's back chain dominance. So another thing we want to do is keep our inside ankle bone high. This is what allows our feet to stay in control. And so our ability to keep our feet the control of our feet will allow us to keep control of our head. And if we can keep everything in between in control, then we'll be actually in alignment with how we're supposed to move, kind of like a salamander. Life is not linear. We're not supposed to move like this. Life is cyclical and spiral. We see it in a lot of different shapes, patterns, animals, inanimate objects, you name it. So same thing as we move, imagine a runner, right? Like my spine is actually twisting and moving I don't need to stay like this. This could be scoliosis at a certain point, right? But this is just musculoskeletal imbalances that we can correct and straighten up. So keeping our inside ankle bone high and making sure our feet are straight is basically what will keep our foundation set. If you think of it, you are a temple. Keep your feet straight, keep your inside ankle bones high. That's how we can build progress all the way up, as opposed to keeping our feet out, inside ankle bone low. It's going to collapse the foundation and collapse the temple. So again, the foot control is what's going to allow for our spinal synchronicity. And so this is like, our ability to basically manage our energy that's transferring throughout our body as we move, whether it's just walking or running in motion, playing basketball, cutting, playing hockey, soccer, all these different sports. There's a lot of these similar patterns. And so all this is basically to load the energy and explode the energy, right? We've seen this concept kind of in all sorts of things. In order to grow, it's like you load and then go. We see it in martial arts as well, just energy in general. You have to conduct energy. It has to build, and then it will release. And so for us, what we want to do is do that safely, because right now, again, what we've been doing is doing it in reverse. And what that does is create energy leaks, imbalance, and explosions, or implosions, whereas we want to explode. So again, we want to build our columns with straight feet. We want to be back chain dominant. We want to keep our inside ankle bones high. We want to have spinal synchronicity from our head down to our feet. We want to enter the energy wave, which is creating bows, and then we want to explode the energy wave, which is creating corners. Now, I know some of that might be a little bit fast, but of course, we'll break all that down as we continue through the process. All right, so now we're going to get into some groundwork. This is the body weight realignment. These movements can be done every day, especially in the beginning of your Recode process. It's going to be something where you will continue to grow your mindfulness and your awareness of what you actually need within your body. You'll continue to learn about, okay, maybe I don't need to stretch this. I need to activate instead. And the same thing with these movements. They're meant to, some of them will open you up. Some of them are gonna close you in the opposite sense. So it's important to, with all of these things, stay present, stay very mindful, and really try to understand, what are you feeling? Is it discomfort? Is it pain? Is it activation? Maybe blood flow? There's really going to have to be a level of intensity when it comes down to how thoughtful you are, how mindful you are when doing these practices. And beneficially, the more mindful and more thoughtful you are, the faster your recovery will be, the more growth you'll have, and it can be really exponential. And again, like for me, I did 2 years of dry needling to no avail, whereas I did 2 months of this, and I was I was done completely.